specifically my book right now, but basically that like later is that well like her father who's like right now with the cash right and like like to get that like right now New York as like a citizen or like to be only hoping that with the ambition that basically she wins that like or like bring us to games that new preparation. But like I'm definitely the scenario to be acting as like the time limit for like the injury nice to game go almost over and like has like that little father who is almost about to make it to that finish line. Like I'm for him to totally make a mistake and that his movement being detected by that giant robot is like the scenario that I'm looking at. And at that point I'm looking for that it would be like to be like the duty of Neo to like basically take his life to that scenario that I'm looking on the fucking story. And at that point I'm looking that Neo that gives me extremely reluctantly basically being forced to that basically take his life and Neo taking his life to like the scenario that I'm looking at. And I'm looking like at that point it would be like from Neo's point of view it would be like kind of like a certain level of like disturbance. But like I'm looking as like time passing like I'm looking like Neo won't be able to like and I'm looking Neo not being able to like sleep that night he refers like the scenario that I'm living with, like it's new that kids would be like intensifying and creating and you know would be like slowly starting to drown in that absolute guilt and I'm so super like that person New York will not even be specifically that night in the night after that. It's the cinema represent like when Neo tries to create like the memories of like that child that unwell that child of that child that was that unwell and that about like the wrong that that child had given to that Neo and they believe the fact that he had taken the life of her father and everything like I'm that memories will be coming back into that Neo's mind and like that's why that Neo will be that totally prominent it's like the winter scenario that I'm looking and eventually I'm definitely discussing in my friend because that like eventually in like the 2024 Squid game like I'm still in my friend that the 2024 Squid games won't be completing and like other than like all Squid games of like the 2024 Squid games won't be particularly getting conducted effectively by the friends and definitely like by the time like the Squid game would be over I'm considering that most likely that Infos team that making it and making their infiltration and finally making their move within like the CGM and Stan John to the forming his own team among like the CGM candidate and same as well revolting against like the CGM with like the scenario that I'm doing. And as for like Stan John like that Stan John will be rating that they would be like trying to like bring down like the CGM workers and steal all that money from that last video and that the scenario that I'm doing. And that would be like that offer that Stan John will be making to like all of them to get all of them to to work alongside San John to like delivering down electricity for those like in different areas that are going. So like that for chaos like Adam would have been by then like Neo would be totally would be helping San John out in multiple occasions to the everything because that's for Neo as well like Neo would be having that extremely because of that guilt of that was really taking the life of like that this is a father like I'm just saying that eventually that or including as like basically the CPM to select the reasons for me or eventually ending up doing such great events saying films at act and everything. So like I'm looking that basically Neol as well at that point would be wanting that money from the club league and at the same time Neol as well would want to like probably just spoil the stadium exactly like of the Sanjay's mindset like that and so like Neol on multiple occasions with that was helping Sanjay out and then was like by the time that super change the game is over like I'm looking the attack happening on like the front man and the game was the time still I'm looking like in hold up will be succeeding in like escaping but like I'm looking from that, the remaining game was possibly maybe that brought down and everything. So like I'm looking like that whole revolt and attack happening in like game, like starting in like near along with like some near like when surviving and making it back. So like by the time like you know making it back, like I'm looking like would be totally making it trying to like make it up for like the guilt extreme guilt that taking the life of that with father but by New York as well like donating some bone marrow and saving that little girl and as well as like New York also that through possibly maybe through Sanjong or like maybe through getting like the money from that fix destroying that glass to give that and possibly taking that money from the glass to give back. This was one of the super movies that I'm the New York saying of the operation and then or like Sanjong helping New York like we you're probably being able to pay for that operation and this surgery and this you're saving that child, at least like scenario, that child fully recovering and like you're seeing like the mother of that child, like the scenario that this is of the thing and my secondary emerge. So my secondary emerging right now with like the son and like the mother Christian candidate like not overly panicking right now and playing this game according to Sanjay advice different skill and certainly that number of game candidate and totally make some sort of mistakes. The right as she will be about to cross the line not a mistake maybe more of the cognitive that maybe her having some sort of a health issue midway as she would be playing the red light in the game and that resulting in son basically won't be able to leave behind his mother, but I'm different son won't eventually basically walking that son to basically but it eventually ending up in a situation where if the son stays behind he would certainly the time limit will be over and he would certainly die. So I'm different at that point such a situation happening was some mother telling the son to keep going ahead and not to think about stuff. And I'm also definitely an eventual scenario happening where the mother won't be able to complete the life green light game and that way getting eliminated in front of her son. It's the scenario that I'm looking while the son with Sanjon's help would be that would be completing that red light green light game. Definitely not with and I'm definitely son would really want to stay behind, but I'm saying that the situation would be that of finding far too less that basically not even Sanjon would be able to help that mother to be candidate the scenario that I'm doing that way Sanjon totally somehow somehow forcefully basically pulling the son away and then also getting the son to cross that finish line with the red light during that student. That way I'm looking that mother candidate in front of son is doing the scenario that I'm looking and the son I'm looking person would be totally traumatized and I would be only it would be Sanjos that would be comforting him from that point on and it would be that pillar of strength from that point on the even scenario that I'm looking at the so definitely I'm looking that mother civilian candidate to not survive and complete here the complete red light green light begin during the scenario that I'm looking at the feeling of the impression right now with the thing the girl who's totally unwell, standing right behind the mother Christian candidate, I'm looking right before crossing and making it to the finish line as time limit will be almost over I'm looking that girl behind the mother Christian candidate is unwell I'm looking not being able to move anymore. It's the scenario that I'm looking at. And at that point, I'm looking that mother Squid game candidate acting out in an empathetic manner and trying to help her cross the finish line. And that received award under the right now. Nothing would be asserting in the mother Squid game candidate losing in that and failing in that likely in game and more than that way getting protected by just a robot. Just the scenario that I'm looking and that way I'm looking right as another student candidate will be about to cross the finish line and from losing that current in that student and getting eliminated right in front of her some student candidate who would have just then cross the finish line. It's definitely during this scenario that I'm putting on the version right now. The current version right now is that basically this student candidate player 444 would be definitely a friend or someone related to or someone that basically should game worker who had basically used the weapon on the player 44 cares about the certain exchange and that might be the reason for that Squid game worker precisely using it weapon and changing the aim from to precisely and using it precisely on his leg is definitely going to ensure that way that he doesn't die. Exactly, it was a reason for that game worker. So exactly that is definitely one of the reasons. So the player of the player 444 will be right now definitely even while the game announces that they release player 444 has been eliminated under the definitely definitely exactly would definitely be getting saved by by that pistol by that game worker who had basically used the weapon on the player for 44. So definitely my information player 44 would be related to that Squid game worker in some manner. Definitely my own impression right now. That definitely my impression right now with Neo taking the life of the player for 44 and basically right now with that his game worker who try to save the life of player for 44 right now finding out that it was Neil that had taken that his life there. But for him, definitely that Flare 44, I'm still thinking about the situation might be someone who might have been kind of like related to or like close to that Squid Game worker. And since we have right now found out that they need Neil that have taken that Squid Game candidate's life, like the player for the board's life, like I'm connecting to what we have that absolute grudge and sense of wanting to like, get revenge on Neil and to take Neil's life. It's definitely along the line future right now thinking it's definitely maybe the and the like maybe player for the clock might be his like brother. It's also like about that I'm like or his brother or like his cousin. Maybe they might be close or like his like good friend. It's definitely not the same. So like definitely like with like Neo taking that life of like the player for 44. Definitely I'm going to connect him to that definitely from this point on like okay he fixed that other civilian was like and to have it fixed in his mind to like basically to that with that absolute guts to that get revenge on Neo and to that what would even take Neo's life and that would be along the lines that she will be from this point on would be that working towards is like the in the scenario that I'm looking for the fucking memory reimbursement. So that definitely not reimbursement right now with that the left 246 that is the little girl's father like basically being among like the Syrian candidate who has basically survived like the like that Syrian that escaped my brother mentioned that I'm sitting on to definitely right now it's in like percent only bring that majority voting thing happening. And I'm looking like even in that majority voting, I'm looking like this time it to be different than this time like I'm looking like the majority voting to like continue playing like against like the scenario that I'm looking and I'm definitely putting that way in like the second split game I'm looking like play up to 46 like that is the father to the that make it like the mistake it's like scenario that I'm looking on putting and I'm looking like him failing in like in midway during like the second two games like the scenario that I'm looking and in that like I'm right now I'm looking like at that point that maybe like Neo totally doing the very exact same thing that like that other Squid Game worker had done of like basically trying to like save that Squid Game candidate that might have been like purchased to them by that aiming like the weapon aiming the weapon away from the rebels like the scenario that happened that when Neo is trying to like save the player to protect from that Squid Game candidate like of that this is the father of like the scenario that happened right and like Neo totally that using the weapon on some other area of like the body and that we're trying to like save that player. It's like the scenario that I'm doing, but like I'm doing like I'm doing like at that point like definitely that other Squid Game worker who that who basically tried to save like the player for 44. Whom that and all had taken the life of that I'm doing that game candidate game worker that probably taking out noticing the center taking off his revenge by that basically that not once but like multiple times that using the weapon on that player 246 and basically that way that is just like that's the game ended at player 246 time midway during that the second stage game it's like the eventual scenario that I'm going to roll right and maybe the reimbursement right now. We might just reimbursement right now as for like this new kind of like CPM work of hierarchies are like right now there are like CPM workers wearing like black uniforms like something that might have been like only created by info just for from like the 2024 Brilliant especially memorization, especially because of like like after like Sanjon telling info that he wants to enter in like the 2024 Brilliant like Amazon and info after like him deciding to like let Sanjon into that participating in like the 2024 Brilliant Amazon like it might be at that point that info might have made the decision to like set up an even higher hierarchy of like this game of the with black new sets of like Sodium workers with black the black uniform respectively and that will be also like basically a backup strategy by Info to that basically informate everyone for things like the possibility of like Sanyon trying all sorts of things to like basically to catch up info from the then after like entering into like the game. So like entering into like the game building and everything. So definitely to keep info safe and so that like even if in like the worst case scenario info will be able to like trick anyone who's like after info to like capture info from the thing like just the game building like even if like during like the 20 games even if like someone infiltrates into like the game building even in like the 20 game even then for to make it that much harder for them to be able to like catch up the front man in home might be also the reason for like basically home setting up like a higher hierarchy of like set of like game workers wearing like black outfit so that like to confuse like the front man with them definitely with the other Squid Game workouts with like the blackout, which is definitely my solution. That way to like make it that much harder, so that like for like the people after info to like capture info that even in the worst case scenario of them infiltrating that and making it towards like info that even for them to like make it that much more like increase the possibility of info being able to like trick them and execute is like would be like there's a reason for like right now in like they are being like the new set of student versus wearing black outfit. It's definitely meant of 300%. So that's like minimum 300% right now was lacking. So right now being out himself as a food have basically about they black him getting the previous night possibly getting drunk and that like flapping a rope like basically the implant tracking location implant of that teeth of like Sanjay like that might have exactly happened and I'm like maybe might be through Muslim soil like and like even while taking Sanjay to like the Sudian Island like I'm like info myself so myself like given orders to like a bunch of is like other men connected to like Sudian to like basically secretly spy on like Mr. Joy and especially since like Joy of course especially since like the lucky guy has already seen Mr. Joy and everything like but like they might have been secretly spied on like after like taking Sanjay to like the game island like by taking Sanjay to like the game island maybe like they might have kind of like spied on at the same time. It was also like that maybe like Jung Ho and the others as well might have been spied on that very night by like bunch of other men connected to like civilians according to like info order. It's like only one person to that temperature. That the other person is definitely that for thorough body checking before that putting like entering like the Indian candidates into like the Indian candidates of like assessing that thorough body checking for like in the case of like Sanjay might have happened during in like some hidden location within that port before transporting Sanjay from like the port to like the stadium island. There's also like a possibility that I'm just definitely because of like info totally expecting like info like they're not fully aware of like the Sanjay it's the spread desire to like destroy and put an end to like studios. Definitely I'm just like info might have or they expected like Sanjay was trying to pull something and so like info might have ensure to that make that whole body checking process, that thorough body checking process happen even before like transporting Sangyeon to like which the game and just like the other popular that I'm discussing. And that way maybe it might be during them that I'm that they might have found out they might have been so thorough that they might have that they found out about like the state of Sangyeon is like the other possible scenarios that I'm looking at the brain of the range. The other possibility that I'm looking for is like that since like before like the Rajagi guy that like like he had basically found that figured like the location of like Sanjo's base like being like the same motel and I'm looking for like he might have even before like showing up in front of like Sanjo within that thing model like and like he might have only while not really putting like the choice there and like the printing model like he might have also like a reporter like everything he had seen like the printing model and about like this all the details about the joy and everything to like info definitely one of them so and the location of the whereabouts of the shipping model and everything definitely one of them so like I'm preparing after that like I'm looking like info men connected to like students might have been like secretly spy on like the thing model from the outside is also like a person to that and so like I'm doing like as like Sanjon as well as Mr. Joy, all of them were making their move and literally were like basically had contacted and brought that like a dental guy to like add that tracking chip that to for like Sanjon and everything like I'm going like after that that person who had given that tracking location to like Sanjon after fixing it like once like that dental guy had basically left the same model I'm looking for like at that point like he might have been secretly followed by that enforcement and I'm looking that they might have only interrogated him and found out from him as for like Sangon having like tracking location containing chips containing seeds within Sangon. There's also like the other possibility that I'm considering so like this possibly being how like info and his info might have destroyed like Sangon and his students that plan to through like the tracking location chips. Like the other third possibility that I'm considering and that's the encryption. So like the clean number three encryption right now as for like the game workers like explanation of that how the game was how the reward money is shared among like the hobby players and everything. The Liver to Green Position right now is like the right now with like the majority voting about to happen like the Liver to the like unlike in like the 2022 like right now the like And although all this like coupled with like basically the fact that like only 91 something players have been eliminated solely due to like champion like basically. So precisely because of all the reasons I'm different definitely right now in like the majority voting that I'm different the majority like I'm different like it was only 30% among like the current 356 survivors of like current like green like game like I'm different like to be just like I'm different to be like only like 30 percentage of them that would be after like the voting results would be declared like I'm doing it would be just like the 30% among them that would be that voting to leave from the experience with like the already existing price money. But like but bring it, the 70 percentage of those 300 versus players would be of like mindset to like keep continuing playing and like play that second skill game as well. Just like the scenario that I was doing. And I'm just playing like the mindset of like that 70 percentage out of like the 3 to game and it is like the mindset of like that after like hearing like the explanation about like the students like from that studio worker like right now like the mindset of like the 70 percentage among the 350 players would be to like basically to play one more good game like the second good game as well and in that second good game like for them to like totally eliminate like all the or like I'm saying them even planning and I'm looking that either like regardless of whether that specific game even happens on this very night or not like I'm looking definitely that the Squid Game candidates themselves like basically among like the 70 percentage of like the Squid Game candidates on those different will be wanting to like play the second Squid Game and those different like the majority among them members of like for the talking about each other and basically come to the decision to like eliminate all the weak players among the total players will actually to eliminate that. And I'm referring it like Thanos would be totally leading that. Like I'm referring like this whole attack. Like I'm referring that leave this like whole attack to like take out all the weak players in like among like the total current total 300 candidates to like eliminate all the weak players out there in that very night itself and that way to so that like and then to also eliminate like the remaining players like the remaining majority players as well who would be like playing like the second split game as well would be along the lines of different Thanos and like maybe like the Thanos would be like forming a gang quickly like the scenario that I'm looking and a small gang quickly and like Thanos and his gang like making like the plan to like basically do exactly that just like in a extremely villainous manner to like first eliminate like the weakest players like on that very night and like on the next day before like on the next day once like the second game begins like to eliminate another set of like usually regardless of whether it's like strong players like to basically eliminate like the majority of the players outside of like Thanos' gang would be like along the lines like Thanos would be playing so that like that way so that like Thanos would be only but like I'm thinking maybe like in Thanos mindset, like I'm thinking like the way like after like midway like how Thanos in a crazy manner had basically replaced like with the first game like I'm thinking for Thanos and those were like it would be like he would be right now of like the pretty kind of like a mindset of like wanting to play all 62 games and basically be like the only survivor and leave with like all the full reward money of the 40 something billion. It's definitely very different. So that would be like the crazy kind of like a mindset in which Thanos would be. But like I'm saying, like I'm still Thanos for me again. I'm those for like as for like the majority in that gang, like it would be, and for like the majority in that 70% whom those people would be like wanting through the spot voting right now would be wanting to like continue playing like studio. For the majority of them, they would be of like the mindset of like just playing one more game and like just playing the second good game as well, and then to like for all of them to like leave through like the voting after like playing the second good game and before like playing before entering it to like second good game for them to like eliminate out all the take the life of all the weak players among the good game candidates and for them to like also take out like a bunch of players by playing like second good game as well, and then for them to like after like playing like the after completing like the second split game for them to like only uh do another voting and they really at that point for them to like leave with that so that like at that point they will be thinking that they would be even if, like the reward money would be getting shared at that point with like a lot of game candidates getting eliminated like due to them like on the different lands and like they would be that even if the reward money would be shared amongst them, like they would be getting like exclusive reward money, and so that they would only be having to like play just like the second full game as well, and they will be able to like only complete like the second full game as well, and after that, like they would be able to be with that huge quantity of like reward money. especially after they could like totally settle their debts and just live their lives. Maybe along the lines of like the mindset, like I'm looking for like the top 70% mindset right now of among like top 70% who will be right now would be wanting to like continue playing like this games, but like even then like and I'm definitely predicting that such scenarios will definitely happen. I'm definitely predicting Sanjon right now would be only be able to that after like the William of explanation and the Sanjon right now will be only give like see where all this would be totally going to like the Sanjon will be right now would be totally able to see like this positive like the definitely positive like the William players who had basically voted to like say continue playing the games like trying to like basically eliminate or the players that they unite and everything. So like I'm trying Sanjon, we're trying to like repeatedly trying to convince all of them that basically they need to be a team and they need to play the game as like a team. And I'm like instead like I'm doing the counter strategy that Sanjon will only using will be like Sanjon definitely like telling them how he's like how Sanjon knows about like the skill games like Sanjon's experience in like that right like figuring that game was because of like Sanjon having already played like this game and before. And basically that like Sanjon is like the winner and Sanjon have all the reward money. That would be along the lines like and Sanjon will be telling all those speaking candidates that like he will share that reward money that like them if uh that 40 billion approximately along the lines of like a reward money that Sanjon have like he will be sharing that with like those Studian candidates if they like team up with like Sangyon to bring down like the Studian workers and like the put an end to like the Studian and everything. Will be along the line Sangyon will be trying to convince them, but like I'm looking at that point I'm looking like the for a moment I'm looking like the Studian Studian candidates like totally kind of like any maybe of like siding with like Sangyon, but like I'm looking right then itself like Thanos I'm looking totally taking up and I'm looking Thanos straight away accusing Sangyon of like not being like a should game winner. Like Amazon Thanos like telling them that we believe this is all like Sangyon's like trick to like totally trick them into totally helping so that like Sangyon could totally use them to like profit further in like the game. When in actuality like Amazon like Thanos telling to like all the remaining candidates that like Sangyon is not even like the winner. It will be a totally bluff that like Sangyon is like the winner of like the previous earlier Squid Game, but like in actuality, like Sanjon might have only escaped like the Squid Games in like the past only due to like through like the majority voting or something. So like that might be the total reason for like Sanjon even running back into like the Squid Game and like Sanjon have gotten all the reward money. Because like Amber and Thanos at that point saying that like everyone enters like the Squid Game for extra reward money. So like if Sanjon has like extra reward money, then Sanjon has absolutely no reason to like return back into like the game would be along the line. Thanos will be saying who like the remaining game candidates, and at that point for the remaining game candidates, like Thanos would be making way more sense to them than Sanjo. Definitely my opinion. So definitely that way, like I'm looking like the majority not at all wanting to like not at all listening to like Sanjo, and I'm looking for like it would be just I'm definitely putting that mother as well as like mother Squid Game candidate as well as that Sun Squid Game candidate definitely as well as like that MG coin Squid Game candidate numbers for that them totally I'm looking for like siding with like Sanjon and forming that the will be part of like Sanjon's like initial team with like the scenario that I'm looking but like I'm looking like right now putting maybe like Thanos is making like instantly like everyone majority of like looking at it feelings that as like Thanos makes more sense than Sanjon and like I'm looking like Thanos easily being able to like form a bigger gang of like looking at it whom like uh whom I'm for Thanos is totally planning on like eventually totally using so that like Thanos could like move ahead and basically like make it all the way to that being like the winner of like the sixth game. And like Thanos definitely would be of like the mindset of like definitely wanting to like eliminate each and every single other Indian candidate so that like he alone would be ending up being like the winner. Definitely my best friend. Right now, what like in Thanos mindset, like it would be for him like I'm sure Thanos would have gone into like a state of like a crazy kind of like a mindset where like for Thanos like it would be like a uh, it would be like a thing of ego for Thanos right now and satisfaction kind of like a realistic kind of satisfaction of the thing for Thanos to be able to like for him to like be able to like complete all six Squid games and like the thing like Thanos would be of like the mindset of like not even wanting to like share like his prize money with like not even a single other person certainly members but Thanos right now would have fixed his mind to like basically to not only win play and win all six games, but to like also to like eliminate like each and every single other Squid candidate. So that Thanos alone is like the only remaining survivors of like the Squid Games, like basically. It would just be for about like the reward money alone for like Thanos right now. Like it would be more of like a villain kind of like a satisfaction kind of like a feeling for Street kind of like a feeling right now for like Thanos to be that sole survivor and win all 60 games. Certainly my able to the reimbursement right now. But remember the reimbursement like only my reimbursement even after like the second two game like definitely but like by the time like the second two game would be over like I'm just saying like even while playing the second two game I'm just saying like the game candidates themselves like trying to like eliminate other players that are going like even though after like the first two games like there's only 90 something that players that got eliminated like I'm saying like after like the second two game would be over like I'm just saying that the double of that maybe like was like around like 200 range of next game players are looking straight away to be getting eliminated through like the second shoot game. And like the major cost reason for that would be definitely like not the toughness of like the game, but like even more than that, like I'm looking like the reason would be like the Squid Game candidates themselves like trying to like eliminate each other. It's like the eventual scenario that I'm looking that way. Like I'm looking after like second Squid Game would go like I'm looking like around like 200 Squid Game players like eliminated, like getting eliminated, like the scenario that I'm also bringing. And even then, after that, like I'm also doing like the among like the but and after like second game, definitely putting like another majority voting happening, and even in that majority voting, I'm also definitely uh, uh, and that majority voting numbers would be totally tight. Unlike like the first the majority voting after like the first likely in that two game right now, which I'm preferring would be like a 70-30 voting results where like the 70 would be of like the decision of like continuing with the game. But like I'm preferring like after like the second two game, like I'm preferring like definitely preferring for like another majority voting, and in that like I'm preferring like it will be almost like a 50 voting results. But like I'm looking like just like by one or two votes, like I'm looking like the majority would be like favoring like the decision of like continuing playing like games. So definitely with the race because like after like the second game would be over like after different like due to that the scenario possibly being like around like 200 Squid Game candidates getting eliminated. And basically that way, like all that huge quantity of money like piling up in that last big event. So like seeing that like basically only creating that absolute greed within that remaining like within that around like half of the remaining Squid candidates uh, like they will be having that extreme period at that point to make even more money to continue playing like the games and that way like I'm going to like the voting is resulting in like even though I'm going to be like a type voting still I'm going to like just by one or two votes like I'm going to like still the student to be continuing on to that third game like the scenario that I'm looking for and I'm framework. So my book framework is like after like the second game like I'm looking like through that the majority voting that the one among like the ones that would have voted to that continue playing the game like referring like a great number of them is what I'm referring will be like ending up getting eliminated and buying like the game when compared to like the other half of like the game and it would be like only listening to like Sanjon and would be not wanting to like I would be wanting to like quit and leave from the game like the scenario that I'm referring to. So referring that due to like Sanjon's guidance like I'm thinking they would be like in Sanjon's like scene like I was doing like they would all be like thoroughly listening to like every word of Sanjon and like but that absolute teamwork I'm also bring like in like the third two game like I'm also bring like in Sanjon being like I will like the majority would be like only surviving while like Thanos being like I was bringing like Thanos losing like a lot of the name I was the impression that like right now even though like basically Sanjon wants to like put an end to like the game and capture and bring down like the front man and everything like I'm still in right now with like Sanjay's situation where like Sanjay has already lost like the tracking location speed and everything like and because like Sanjay and on top of like seeing once again going through that whole traumatic situation of like basically witnessing that people died before him through like the game like I'm doing right now definitely Sanjay's mindset will be to like exit and quit like the game right now through this like majority voting and basically so that like he could like save all these people who are in like the game would be like Sanjon in that, and Sanjon would be of like the mindset of like basically going back to like the real world and make another try, another attempt to like basically bring down like the people behind like Squid Games and put an end to like Squid Games by like reuniting with like Info and Sanjon's men and everything. Reuniting with like Jang and Sanjon's like men and everything, and then we to like for them like Sanjon might have right now be feeling that like he could have like strategized even way better. It's definitely never frame because because of it's like state tracking locations strategy failing that and doing Sanjon right now would be the only thing that is really a lack of like basically leaving like the full game so that like he could save all these people in within like the all these full game candidates and basically to make like another strategical plan to like infiltrate into like the Squid Games in like the 2015 Squid Games or like from like the real world for like Sanjon to like in a more practical manner, like to try to like find like the people behind the Squid Game and bring down the Squid Game would be along the lines like of like a mindset in which like Sanjon would be right now in especially my book. So like I'm looking Sanjon right now could be definitely genuinely wanting to like quit and leave like this in game right now would be definitely Sanjon current mindset is definitely my book impression right. Definitely my book impression right now with like Sanjon right now about the like what and with like definitely I'm looking like Sanjon right now would be like dropping the X to like leave like again especially my book right now with that woman talking about like faith deciding that is Sanjon not getting selected like definitely second my representation that actually after like the voting would be over like the majority would be voting to like basically stay and continue playing this game. It would definitely be like under the like a 70-30 percentage. So it was like 70 voting to like stay and continue playing this and at that point I'm definitely hoping what the result would be announced like this exact same movement like would be laughing at like Sanjon and like her telling Sanjon that like she that she when doesn't she say that basically it's all about like fate it's fate that decides like to get on the line Sanjon like her totally laughing at Sanjon at that point is like the scenario that I'm looking right and my was the reaction. So like the movement is the reaction right now but like so it comes the time so during like the voting process with like the student candidates having to like take like the card of like their voting choice on their outfit like basically and therefore like that would be still like most likely thing even for Apple would be part of like in-house plan to like practical plan to like imprint that that into like the memory that they need to like make it will be only to ensure that Sanjon like any plans that Sanjon will be trying to like put in like the in like the school games like could not happen and so that like another different like definitely so that like as the school game candidates who will be voting to like continue playing like the school games like who will be all who will be at that point will be all having like that O card on their blue or O card on their outfit like basically them for them to all feel that a team and basically for them to all like look at like the school game candidates with like the red X card on their uniform as like we Indian candidates that like they need to get rid of and eliminate. It's definitely like to like make like to like practically in a realistic manner to make like the Syrian candidates who will be like picking to us the blue card of like go to like continue playing this game to make them feel as if like they are better. Also feel as like they are better and to see them as like weak and so that like to mentally imprint that into like their mind that basically after like the entire voting with your to like mentally imprint that into like their mind and so that like they like the likelihood of like the people like people voting to like they that is the people with like the blue card of like oh like the likely to increase the likelihood of like them teaming up and ganging up against like Sanjeon as well as like group of like people who would be like Sanjon as well as like a group of people who would be like voting to like leave like the civilians is like to increase the possibility of that happening would be like the central reason for like this difference with like right now in like the voting like these cards it needed to be like being forced to like need to be put onto like the uniform is definitely my preference to like visually imprint that onto like the minds of like the candidates will be that will be continuing to like stay and continue playing this game and for them to like collectively target like to game candidate that to see like uh taking voting to like leave the game because leave out revolution. Yeah, the name of the revolution right now as for like Sankyons like from like the past like players 390 like I'm like right now that leave voting to stay and continue playing the games was like the scenario that I'm looking and that them the would be like such an absolute big shock to like Sanyon who had basically voted to like basically leave the game. is like the scenario that I'm looking forward to. And like, and the sole reason would be like from his point of view, he would be like right now totally would be that feeling that even after like witnessing the shock of like this red light, green light experience, like I'm looking still I'm looking like him. That would be like totally right and now would have totally got tempted with that or with like seeing all that money falling onto like the last big events right now. And I was like community also thinking around the lines that it really since like Sanjon already have like this his good friend Sanjon have already have this like experience playing like the game playing, even though the games are playing up like even though Sanjon has already played this games and still survived like basically and since like he too like that friend of like Sanjon had basically was able to like survive like the red light green light games only due to like him only listening to like Sanjon and doing everything exactly like Sanjay said, like like that way, like him, that overconfidence right now, the friend would be forming within that good friend of that Sanjay, and I was like him right now, totally wanting to continue playing with him is like the scenario that I'm doing, and that being like the biggest job for like Sanjay, and I was like him, that good friend of Sanjay, and I was like totally like dying, would be ending up getting eliminated in like very second game is like the scenario that I'm doing. Either during like the second game or like I'm doing like it will be during the whole riot kind of like a situation, which I'm definitely planning to like happen during like the very night within that specific candidate room. And I was going like maybe during that riot or something like I'm doing like functions like different like ending up getting targeted and ending up dying. So that one possible scenario that I'm doing. But like even more than that, I'm doing like for that functions for and for three times in like the second skill game. Definitely my preference. I'm definitely preferring like the second skill game. I'm preferring like there to be at least like a slight bit of difference in like the second skill game. It's also like about that I'm definitely I'm preferring like the second skill game would be like such a situation where like definitely I'm still pretty like it won't be exactly like the whole cutting the shape out star and the other shape out like the game from like the 20 game. But like I'm preferring there to be like slight bit of like difference. And even if it's like the very same cutting out the shape like I'm like in that like definitely I'm preferring like definitely regardless I'm preferring like in like the second good game I'm preferring like even after like listening to like Sanjon I'm preferring like most likely the scenario to be like the good friend of like Sanjon still making some sort of like a mistake while playing like the second good game and like totally really ending up getting eliminated in like the second good game in front of like Sanjon is like the scenario that I was doing that to be like a huge shock for Sanjon is also the scenario that I'm doing and definitely I'm also working right now for like that little girl's father like I'm looking like him definitely I'm looking voting to like continue playing this game also like definitely it's my best game preference. So my preference definitely for like the woman that basically who tell Sanjon about like who has told Sanjon about like it's fate that decides whether Sanjon gets to like leave or like stay in like this game building and everything like I'm looking like her totally I'm looking voting to like continue playing this game so for the game of friend. Like name of 300% right now with like Thanos right now excitedly like voting to like continue playing like this game and right away like Sanjon right now trying to convince like the game candidates to like basically to vote to like basically like definitely on the thing right now Thanos will be interfering like Sanjon's like please right now to like serving the game and like this is another that I'm working on right now so like like Thanos will be totally getting triggered by like might out only got triggered by Sanjon to like reach like it was like Sanjon like totally even from on top of that like on top of like Thanos right now possibly being in like a crazy kind of like a mindset of like him totally being excited to like play like this two games and but then like Thanos will be in like a psychotic mood right now. It's also like about that I'm working so like I'm also like on top of that like basically is like Sanjon getting all the attention and basically everything with like Sanjon like playing the role of second leader every time like Sanjon would be like adopting like the entire game candidates would be definitely along the lines like I'm looking like Thanos will be tweeting and just like Thanos is like a different thing like a real life and everything like I'm looking like Thanos will be like totally I'm looking maybe like Thanos getting feeling like angry and frustrated by seeing like Sanjon each time like Sanjon will be getting like weapons and Sanjon will be speaking up and addressing to like the entirety of like the skiing and that's like the scenario that I'm doing and on top of that like right now I'm just like Thanos will be totally excited to like play all 60 games and to get all that reward money for himself, but especially to eliminate all that other players as well. like different like in a realistic manner like and psychotic manner like Thanos right now would get excited about so like right now with like Sanjon like trying to convince like all the remaining speaking candidates to like basically to stop to leave from like begins like I'm looking at India right now, but like Thanos right now will be like in an uncontrollable manner, like I'm looking at Thanos right now attacking Sanjon, like the scenario that I'm looking at, like I'm looking like a fight between like Thanos and Sanjon happening, and Thanos actually like physically attacking Sanjon right now is like the scenario that I'm about to go the right and about to version. It's like the cinema with version right now with like Sangon right now basically revealing the truth that he has already played like games almost games in like 2020 and basically that all of them will die if they continue playing this game like I'm doing still I'm doing like right now. Right now when I'm doing like Thanos might make look like the appearance and I'm like definitely Thanos right now with the brain speaking up and I'm also like that even right now it's like Sanjon's revealing the truth to like everyone like I'm doing like when while like uh, all the cooking candidates maybe like I'm looking right now like the cooking candidate will be like kind of like into the being convinced by Sanjon but like I'm sure right then it's like I'm doing Thanos I'm definitely destroying it all by like I'm going to be more Thanos that will be telling to like on the cooking candidates that they really so that so what like basically along the lines like Thanos telling them that basically so that that they have absolutely no proof that basically Sanjon like the winner of like this video like the only thing that they know is that basically Sanjon has already played like the red light green light game knows about like the red light green light game for all they know like Sanjon might have totally through like the majority voting might have left uh, playing like experience after like the first like in that game when those internet what Thanos will be selling like to all those other candidates will get on the line that basically will get on the line that like this will be how like Sandron will be earning money that is the Sandron even from like the simple might have been repeatedly entering like the game each year and each year after like playing like the red light green light the game like everything like Sandron might be like basically during since like Sanjong was like the person that had even talked about like the two legs game of about like the majority voting like this will be what like Sanjong will be like to each year like bring out like the majority voting after like each year after like winning like the red light green light game so that like this like Sanjon the experience playing like the red light green light game Sanjon would be able to like survive like the red light green light game each year and basically then through like the majority voting once like the money will be like Sanjon will be ensuring to like basically to have like the majority vote to like leave that experience and or once like basically when it is and so like once on leaving like basically like the reward money will be getting split up and basically with that reward money, like Sanjay might be like survive and living his life to until like the next year. While in the next year, Sanjay will be once again entering back into like this period and basically once again playing like the red light, green light game and basically once again like tricking like the green candidates to do the majority voting to like leave the games and once again like the prize money getting share and Sanjay once again earning that share prize money. Like this will be might be what like Sanjay might have been so since like a long time for a long time would be along the lines of different and how Sanjon would be earning money would be along the lines of different Thanos right now would be like telling the crowds like the scenarios that I'm doing and at that point I was different like the crowd suddenly being convinced by Thanos with like the scenario that I'm doing and at that point I was like Thanos told me like telling Sanjon to like basically how they want like they can't like they have such huge stuff that they can't live like Sanjon that basically they like and I was like for him at that point maybe I was looking at Thanos even asking like the civilian what have to like basically if like Sanjon has any depth it's also like about the that was correct. So like at that point, like the Squid Game worked out, telling them that it really is Sanjo not having any depth. It's also like kind of like a remark of the that I'm correct. So like I'm delivering that at that point, like Sanjo getting isolated kind of like a situation like the scenario where like every other Korean candidate would be like relating to their depth while like they will be like only seeing Sanjo like different person who doesn't have any depth and so won't be able to like understand their situation of like being left rhythm. So like I'm like them all like the majority of them telling Sanjon that like they are not in like the same to that of like Sanjon that they have all these steps so like in order to like settle that like they can't simply like leave the good games and basically enter re-enter back into like the next year that basically they are on their deadline kind of like a date kind of like a situation that they have to like pay off like that as soon as possible. So like in order to do that, like they have to continue playing like this game. Would be along the lines of like a conclusion that I'm going to bring, and that way like I'm going to like Sanjon probably earning like this like of that, and the majority of the student candidates and like the majority of the student candidates even targeting Sanjon and like not even like targeting Sanjon and wanting to like get rid of and eliminate Sanjon. So like I'm going to positive that I'm going to bring. While I'm going to bring like only like the minority of like the student candidates that would be like like maybe like today Sanjon. It's also like an eventual and to be like working together with like I'm also like experiencing the scenario that I'm going. I'm not the impression right now. So like the name of the impression right now as for like Thanos idea right now as for like basically listening to like Sangyeon who has already won like the Squid Game so that like everyone could like make it to that and complete like the Squid Game. Like definitely that will be like a trap by Thanos to like complete like all of like the remaining Squid Game candidates. It's definitely going to be like because like it's because of like that fame Thanos would be someone who would just totally enjoy which is like 10% life and everything. Like he might be some definitely be someone who enjoys for that fame and that is definitely my friend. So like the last thing Thanos would want would be to like give all that attention to like Sandra and to get different to like Sandra or anything. It's definitely my friend. But like so like I'm different like Thanos' plan right now would be that solely since like the current situation that of like the voting process like the last thing Thanos would be wanting right now would be for like Sanjon to like attempt to like succeed and like Sanjon to be able to like convince like the remaining Indian candidates and then like the once like the voting results would be voting the remaining voting would be done like basically the voting ending up in like the favor of leaving like spirit. That would be the last thing Thanos would want. It's definitely my friend too. So like I'm saying that totally to trick all like the all the Indian candidates like Thanos would be saying just definitely my friend so that the voting results, so that the remaining voting would be like on the favor of the continuing play. So it's definitely my friend. But like Thanos plan would be to like basically to like eliminate and take the life of like and attack and take the life of Sanjon on that very night. That was definitely my problem within the Sugi can play from that for like Thanos to like eliminate not just Sanjon but like all those like Thanos would be able to trying to like eliminate like all or like majority of like or like a bunch of like people who had really voted to like the context against like the scenario that I'm looking for. So this would be like Thanos plan and I'm looking like uh Thanos might be planning on doing that and basically tend to like play the leader, with like Sangyeon going for like Thanos to like play the leader and to have like everyone listen to like Thanos. This will be like Thanos plan, you know, because like Thanos will be like in that crazy kind of like a mindset that like Thanos won't be feeling any fear as for like facing like the uncertainty of like what like the upcoming playing of the games will be definitely my with So Thanos definitely would be like prioritizing that whole attention uh, over like even like surviving like the studios. Like Thanos will be of that or also that like he would definitely be able to like survive like studios. Definitely when friend. So like I'm looking like and Thanos plan as well would be totally to like that very night itself like to like eliminate like the majority of like studio candidates that had voted to like basically leave like the studio along with like Sanjana Stephanie with it. So that like fans of it only hoping that basically so that like even after like the second Squid game will be over, like basically even if like another majority voting even happens like basically so the majority will be voting to like continue playing like this game. It's definitely my consideration. So like Thanos will be secretly right now in his mind would have set up the targets against like not only Sanjon but like the majority who had voted to like basically leave the Turian to attack them and to eliminate as much as of them as like Thanos can would be like Thanos' plan right now. In that night and during like the second Squid game would be like Thanos' plan right now. Definitely remember the instance. Before like the second Squid game is over, like Thanos will be only expecting like another major voting once majority voting once like the second Squid games will be over. So like before that point like for Thanos to like eliminate like a great number of like CDM candidates who have right now voted to like leave CGM, including Zangion, will be like Thanos like ultimate trap of like a villainous plan is definitely my brain rush. Right of the election right now for like the voting of like the trans and the woman like I'm like have to like go they vote to like basically to continue playing these games with like the scenarios that I'm looking at. That would be like her and then like her initial decision might have been to like to vote to like leave like the Sugans, the Milan was rendered and like her mindset might have totally changed solely due to that Thanos speech and about like his idea to like listen to everything Sanjyon would be saying which would be totally a fault trap by Thanos to get all the people to like basically want to continue playing the game. Definitely remember things, and I'm looking next that Francis woman as well totally falling for that trap of like Thanos, and I'm looking like even though the scenario that I'm looking like she might have initiated that to like leave like the game to like Sanjon, but like I'm also like after like Thanos was like idea, I'm also like her to like change her decision and deciding her taking the decision to like continue playing this two games like scenario that I'm saying I'm very much definitely right now and for like player 7 like they believe that some game candidate like I'm definitely as well I'm definitely starting to like what to like leave that this game definitely very because like I'm like he might have when entering like this game might have not just been for like for himself to like make a lot of money but like to for him to like give he might love that mother so much that like he might have really wanted to like give a better life to his mother as well. That as well might have been a huge factor behind him entering into like games definitely one with the ambition. But like I'm definitely right now after like going through that extreme extreme shocking and danger experience of like the legend that again like I'm like the last thing that some student candidate would want to be to that to his mother like playing like under dangerous game like that. Definitely remember the right. So like definitely I was like that some game candidate like definitely uh voting to like leave the game is like the scenario that I'm getting of the point I'm referring. Like definitely remember and right now that is since like the episode name itself is like one like 001 like I'm thinking like definitely player one and the film would be someone that like Sanjon would be knowing already knowing us definitely remember so like I was like and definitely I'm preparing the eventual scenario to be like solely due to like player ones would be like the I'm preparing just right now I'm preparing that one thing just by a single vote that will be how like the game would be that continuing uh, it's like the scenario that I'm preparing. And the only difference would be like through that single vote like when compared to like the 20 games like this year like in 2024 like I'm like the students continuing just by a single board is like the different kind of like a scenario that I'm putting and that single board would be that of like player one like the scenario that I'm putting and I'm looking like player one to be someone like Sanjong probably knows of it's definitely not the same but so the game direction as for like player one would be like like might be possibly being but for like the scenario is like player one actually being like that like homeless person with whom like basically Sanjon had played like a game with like Ilnam in that style building set like in which like Ilnam had lost like and like in that game that Sanjon had played with like Ilnam right before Ilnam that that game that had played that they had played between them on that homeless man but like it was the scenario is like that homeless person um entering like the 2024 game, instead getting like game card and ending up entering like 2024 game and him being like the player one in like the 2024 game. Just like the scenario that I'm doing and him like solely because of like him being homeless, him just like actual reality in like a real life thing that of like a homeless person like I'm looking like him totally of like finally being of like the mindset as like he has nothing to lose and only him of saying like the button to like continue to play like the oh button to like continue playing like this game like doing the scenario that I'm looking and I'm looking like since like that homeless person had like for my the impressions were like since that homeless person from back then had like a look like that of like Ilnam like I'm looking like so they remember the impression that like Sanjon's father won't be like Ilnam, but like would be like the identical twin brother of Ilnam would be like Sanjon's father, and Sanjon's father might have died in like the third Squid game. Sanjon's father might have been like the person, the old man with like dementia. It might have been Sanjon's father alone that might have had dementia. Ilnam might have been putting on a fake act as if like he had dementia in like the first two games. Definitely, Ilnam might have only played like the first two games and it might have been like Sanjon's active father that might have played along with like Sanjon in like the twins in the studios in like the first three seasons. Definitely no played for that. As like Sanjon's father might have been using the rest of like like according to example all of like like he might have be like like some man might have sent people to that game of the student and they might have eliminated that Sanjon's father and then Hilda might have came under the disguise of like back into like the speaking candidate which under like the disguise of like Sanjon's father might have been what might have happened and it's that way so that like the after like setting up like the first game to be exactly the Marvel studio so that like Hilda could like conveniently like play and experience like this game for himself, and yet like by Ilnam like basically delaying like the positive game until with like Sanjon until like the very end, like Ilnam might have been ensuring that like Ilnam would be uh, able to like leave that Squid game after like playing that Squid game, Ilnam would be able to like leave alive safely. Would be along the lines like of what might have happened. Definitely remember the real, but like I'm like uh, they would like Ilnam would be having a like identical twin brother, and that would be like Sanjay's father, and like them both would be having a younger brother as well. And I was wondering that might be like that homeless man that like Sanjay that with whom like basically like Sanjay had basically played that whole uh game with like Ilnam in that sky building with definitely member three impression. So definitely my secondary impressions that like Sanjay that could be like the case that I was like even after seeing like the number one player like I'm super like Sanjay totally like not being able to like recognize that it was that very same homeless person that like Sanjay had played the game with in with definitely member frame Russia. So yet like I'm doing Sanjay possibly being able to like see like the look at like between that number one Korean candidate and like like in especially one of the papers. So like I'm looking that way like Sangyong straight away feeling kind of like suspicious towards him, and I was looking like them probably interacting a lot, and I was looking like literally through their interaction at some point like I was looking like Sangyong probably finding out that it that person is Sangyong, and I was wondering maybe it would be through that homeless person that like Sangyong through the interaction with like him that Sangyong might be like probably finding out all sorts of like crucial important details about like Sangyong's life that basically that the like the old man with dementia was not in down and basically that was like Sanjay father who had played along with like Sanjay for like the first three billion in like 2020. Like basically Sanjay realizing that also like a possibility that I'm waiting for and but like Sanjay also definitely even finding out that basically that this guy this homeless person is actually like Sanjay's father like as well as like announced like younger brother it's also like Simon finding all this out through him eventually, and I was wondering like soon after like him revealing all this to like John and like the very next two games I'm wondering like either in like the very next games or like during like the first game like I'm like ending up like it's like chilling the scenario that I was about to find and I'm trying to. And the name the story I'm listening right now with like player one right now is being revealed to be info like the name of the story I'm listening like it's like info was like actually watching like the red light, green light game as it was taking place and going on. So this like trophy place as like the front man in through the monitor like since like info was like back then like watching like the red light, green light game happening in like the 24 studio that since like info was like the front man back then. It was like front man position back then. We had like info right now showing up as like the number one cooking vendor. So like a different like definitely, it might have been not like a pre-planned thing for Invoice definitely member to play as like a game ended. It might have been not a pre-planned thing for Invoice definitely member play. It might have been solely because like Amazon like even while knows that basically Sanjon would definitely be trying to like protect as many and save as many lives in like the as Sanjon can in like the red light green light game as well as like all those games after that as well. Like Amazon like definitely even while Informator knew that like Informator never might have not expected like that attempt of like Sanjon could actually Sanjon being successful in that attempt to the point of like basically Sanjon being able to like save so much lives like with that about like 90 something players alone getting like eliminated after like the first red light, green light game. So only due to like Sanjay like unbelievable like info might have been thoroughly disappointed like the scenario that I'm was on the parting. Disappointed in like Sanjay's success like the scenario that I'm was and it might be at that point that like seeing the result like that like info might not only decided to straight away uh, straight away just at like the first red light green light to game in like the 20th of game as it might have been almost about to be over like at that point like Info might have been able to like throw the monster like Info might have been able to like see like the impact of like San John's like the experience San John's like present in like the 20th of games definitely remember the impression so like Info at that point might have like only decided initially might have not even decided to that, might have not had like any intent at all to like play like just games along with like Sanjay is definitely my preparation. But like it might be at that point, like on seeing like the results of like Sanjay's presence in like the 20% game saving so much life that basically might have decided to like basically end up into like the Squid game. And I believe in that Squid game like in like the like in that Squid game like the player number one might have definitely died. It's new. So like at that point like like info might have only decided to maybe only at that point that info might have decided to like basically end into like the Squid games as like just the that player number one. Uh, to basically with the sole intent to like basically to like so that to like ensure that basically all of like Sangyeon's like attempt to save all the people that he can like continuously like destroy like all of Sangyeon's like attempt and he could like so that like he could like totally spy on Sangyeon and he each and every single strategy that like Sangyeon would be attempting to like save all those people so that like basically at first hand so that like Info would like certainly like destroy each and every single of that plan and basically so that like Info as well would like totally like basically like conduct like those two games exactly according to like how Info wants, like even eliminating and getting rid of like the weak and everything. So like for Info to like make that all that realistically happen by being by Info's presence as like a player as like a shooting candidate is like with the Info's plan is definitely my plan right now is definitely my preparation. So definitely I'm preparing like still my primary ambition is that like Info I'm preparing like would be only infiltrating would be like I'm preparing like Info not trying to like oppose Sanjon but like I'm like it would be using that absolute stealth of like an approach that Info would be totally using as like player number one like I'm like Info I'm preparing totally that that absolute stealth like totally putting on a fake act and casually forming that friendship with like Sanjon. So like the scenario without my creative like the scenario that I'm doing that way that info totally infiltrating into like the part like the into being part of like the group of like Sangyeon so that like info could like totally be aware of like each and every single move that Sangyeon will be making so that like info so that absolute self will be planning on like betraying Sangyeon each and every single time so that absolute self and tricking Sangyeon to like each and every single time destroy each and every single plan of like Sangyeon to like save all the good game and it's definitely my victory and prediction right now. So definitely, I'm still thinking about the impressions that like unlike Sangyeon, like who had basically won like the 2020 Games in like a fair and manner, like I'm like in the case of Info, it was like the winner of like the 2015 stadium, like Info might have definitely not at all wants like the 2015 Games in like a fair manner at all. Definitely remember the range. That might have been that stealthy, consistent sheet of help by Vietnam through which like I'm like information that only gotten like that pieces of paper like written in book or something like basically like only like Ilna might have sent us like and like the front man back then might have been like Ilna front or something definitely remembering it. So like through like the front man like like Ilna might have gotten like a bunch of clues as to like what the next games would be towards like info definitely remembering and might have only helped info out a lot as definitely remembering it and like info might have even failed in like maybe once or more than once Squid games in like the 2015 studios. So also like about the memory and I'm free in those Squid games like I'm different like definitely like exactly like how Vietnam was able to like survive even after like losing in like that fourth marble Squid game to like regardless of it being like purposefully losing to like Sanjon like still even after like Vietnam losing to like Sanjon in like the fourth marble Squid game in like 2020 like still the fact that like Vietnam was like so conveniently being able to like survive even after that loss. Like I'm like in a similar manner, like Ilnam might have like stealthily ensured that basically Info survives each and every single Squid game and back in like the 2015 Squid game and that way like Info might have made it all the way into like completing the Squid game and becoming like the winner of like the Squid games in like 2015 might have been what might have happened. Definitely my top three answers. Definitely according to my top three ambitions, definitely like it would be along a similar kind of like a manner in which like info if we even competition through that the Squid games in like the 2024 Squid game as well as definitely my top three ambition while consistently like tricking Sangyeon, consistently tricking and betraying Sangyeon with that absolute stealth and destroying all the single one of like Sangyeon's plan Info would be also while playing like this games, like info would be also like stealthily receiving all that help and would be like stealthily surviving from like game workers and like info would be like actually surviving and like each and every single game that way. It's like the scenario that I'm looking for. The super like by the time like John will be like realizing the like that basically like how like anything suspicious with like player one like info. Like by the time like John will be like even realizing that for and feeling that suspicion towards like info like I was bringing by then like it would be too late and I was like info would have made the long like John all the way to like the again, especially in the scenario that I'm referring to. Like by then like I was referring who would have consistently for a lot of like John's like strategies and like attempts to like save a lot of like Julian and the definitely my filter. But that absolutely that's definitely my filter. So definitely also my premise is that while Inho would be like Inho while like Inho right now is like playing as like the game candidate as like player number one, like number two, like the front man definitely able to Inho might not only assign this like most trusted person and like this like the best friend like I was wondering like behind such a person and that would be like the person who's like right now currently like the in like, doing the job of like the front man right now. It's definitely my opinion. So like and I was like eventually by the time like I'm still thinking about the that like eventually by the time like John Ho and the others will be like finally finding the game and will be like infiltrating into like the game building and I'm definitely putting like John Ho eventually capturing like the front man is like the scenario that I'm looking but like I'm looking at that when like John Ho that and that time won't be like noting like that player number one in like within like the who's like playing the two games and everything. Like I'm remembering like somehow bit solely focused on like basically finding like the front man and basically committing like game building and capturing him and like basically saving info. Like so be like the only thing in like John Ho's mind. So like I'm remembering like eventually John Ho actually only focused on that and like John Ho totally missing out on like basically info presence as like a school game candidate. It's like the scenario that I'm doing and I'm going to John Ho and his team like eventually capturing like the front man, but like once like Janko would be unmasking like the front man, like I'm like Janko getting like the biggest shock with like the front man not being info. It's like the scenario that I'm looking and definitely I'm looking like by then like I'm looking like there being like this whole reward kind of like a situation between like this good game rating and everything. Just like the scenario that I'm looking with like the Sangyeon's like army of like speaking candidates as well as like um Janko and the army of people that like Janko will be bringing to like infiltrating and attacking like so game building and all of that scenario that I'm looking but like that also like I'm looking definitely in hope skill would be like escaping and surviving. It's like the scenario that I'm looking at. Definitely it will be like impose like a revenge or like a return that will be happening after through like season three of X-Men. It's definitely my opinion. And definitely I'm looking again in season three, like I'm looking like in by the like info will be like so extremely angry towards like Sanjon and basically I'm looking like as part of like info so revenge like I'm looking like the next time I'm looking like info will be like forcefully bringing Sanjon to like the studios in like 2025 of like the scenario that I'm looking at. That's like how it's really info be doing that as well as the like would be like most likely definitely able to like info like updating Sanjon dot point like totally threatening Sanjon but that is like into like that way person Sanjon to like enter into like the games in like 2025 it was like the scenario that I'm looking at right now.